Fear is a common human experience. Everyone, at some point in their life, feels the cold grip of uncertainty, the pounding heart from anxiety, or the heavy burden of doubt about what lies ahead. Sometimes fear is just fleeting, a sudden startle that quickly fades away. Other times it clings tightly, persistently, and paralyzingly, affecting every thought and decision. But in those moments when fear threatens to overwhelm us, we face a profound choice. Will we let fear control our steps, or will we reach out to faith and trust in something greater than ourselves? Choosing faith instead of fear does not mean pretending that anxiety does not exist or ignoring the challenges we face. It means positioning yourself in the belief that you are not alone, that there is a God who cares, sees, and walks with us through every dark valley. Trusting God when you are afraid does not mean you suddenly become fearless. Instead, it means you choose to place your trust in His promises, even when your heart is trembling. The journey from fear to trust begins with acknowledging our own vulnerability. The desire to control, outline every outcome, and prepare for every possibility is natural. But life rarely goes according to our plans. When faced with the unknown, our instinct may be to retreat, build walls, or cling to what feels safe. However, it is precisely in those uncertain moments that trust has the power to transform us. Reflect on the stories of those who have walked this path before us. Throughout history, countless men and women have faced seemingly insurmountable challenges, terrifying difficulties, and obstacles that appeared impossible to overcome. What set them apart was not extraordinary courage, but the willingness to believe that God was always with them, even when the road ahead was unclear. Let's take the example of the story of David standing before Goliath. David was young, had never experienced battle, and was only equipped with a sling and a deep faith in God. The odds of winning were not in his favor, and fear would have been a natural reaction. But David's words echo through the ages. "The Lord who saved me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will save me from the hand of this Philistine." David's faith did not eliminate the danger. It only reminded him that God's power was greater than his fear. Or think of Esther, a young woman placed in a position of influence in a foreign land. When her people faced the threat of destruction, she could have chosen safety and silence. Instead, she trusted in God's purpose for her life, declaring, "If I perish, I perish." Faith gave her the courage to act, even though she was afraid. These stories are not meant to make us feel inadequate in our difficulties. Instead, they invite us to realize that faith is not the absence of fear, but the determination to trust in God during those times. So how do we take practical steps to choose faith over fear when we feel anxious? First, we must be honest with God about our fears. There is no need to hide or pretend before the one who knows us better than we know ourselves. The Psalms are full of sincere and straightforward prayers, cries in distress, pleas for help, and questions about God's presence. "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you," the psalmist writes. This simple confession is the beginning of faith, acknowledging fear and turning it toward God. Next, we remind ourselves of God's promises. Fear often grows on the soil of forgetfulness. When we forget God's faithfulness in the past, we become blind to His presence in the present. One way to combat this is to recall the ways God has provided, protected, and guided us before. Keeping a journal of answered prayers, reading stories of faith, or reflecting on the Bible can help us remain confident in the truth that God is faithful. Another important step is to surround yourself with a community of faith. When we are afraid, isolation can make our fear even greater. We need people who will listen, pray with us, and remind us of God's love. Sometimes just hearing others' stories about how they trust God in their fear can give us the courage to walk in our own faith. It is also very important to take one step at a time. Faith does not require us to know the entire path ahead. Often, God only asks us to trust Him with the next step. When the future becomes overwhelming, focus on what you can do today. Pray for strength for this moment, wisdom for this decision, courage for this conversation. As you walk by faith, you may notice fear gradually loosening its grip. Practicing gratitude can also shift our perspective from fear to faith. When we are afraid, the mind naturally focuses on what could go wrong. Intentionally recognizing and being thankful for the good things, no matter how small, reminds us that God's goodness is always present, even in difficult times. Gratitude does not deny the reality of fear, but it expands our awareness of God's grace. Sometimes choosing faith instead of fear means letting go of the things we cannot control. This can be the hardest step of all. We want certainty, but faith calls us to trust God with the unknown. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means entrusting the outcome into God's hands and believing that He will work everything together for good. The important thing to remember is that faith is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when you feel strong and confident. Other days, your faith may feel fragile and small. Jesus once said that even faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. What matters is not the size of our faith, but the object in which we place our trust. God respects even the trembling steps toward Him. When you face fear, remember that you are not alone. God promises to be with us, to comfort, guide, and grant us peace that surpasses all understanding. He invites us to cast all our worries upon Him because He cares for us. When the path is uncertain and darkness surrounds, His presence is our firm support. Choosing faith over fear is a daily decision. It is the quiet determination to believe that God is greater than anything we face. It is the willingness to move forward, even when we do not know what tomorrow will bring. It is the assurance that no matter how fierce the storm, we are kept safe by a faithful Lord. So, when fear knocks on your door, stop and take a deep, steady breath. Remember who God truly is, His steadfast power, His endless love, and His unchanging goodness that has upheld you until now. Honestly share with Him your worries, doubts, and even the things you cannot put into words. Daily remind yourself of His promises, written to bring you courage and hope. Rely on your faith community, friends, family, or fellow believers, those who can support you when your strength feels small. Take a step of faith, no matter how small, knowing that progress is more important than perfection. Practice gratitude, finding small blessings even in uncertain moments. And finally, let go of what you cannot control, placing it into the hands of the One who holds tomorrow. In that way, you choose faith, a moment, a prayer, an act of trust, step by step. Each small decision becomes a step toward courage, a gentle but firm turning away from fear. Through it all, God walks beside you, not from afar, but close enough to catch every tear and hear every whispered hope. He turns your trembling into strength, uncertainty into steady confidence, and fear into a living testimony of His faithfulness. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to see His hand at work, every hardship a door leading to deeper trust, and every victory a reminder that faith always leads to hope.